Applying for permanent selection in the regular skilled worker program. Once you have received an invitation, you must fill out and submit the permanent selection application form. You will receive the confidential information to access the form in your Arima message center. As of the date you receive the invitation, you have a maximum of 30 days to submit your application and pay the processing fees. Once this time frame has passed, your application will no longer be valid. Information to provide: sending supporting documents, paying your application fees, processing times, decisions, adding or removing family members after submitting your application, submitting an application for permanent selection using a representative. Information to provide: the information provided in your expression of interest will be copied to your permanent selection application. You will need to add certain information and check that all information entered in your application is accurate. You will need to specify certain information in your application for permanent selection. Sending supporting documents: after submitting your permanent selection application, you will receive a personalized list of documents to provide to support your application. You will also receive an application to obtain an attestation of learning about democratic values and Quebec values. You will not receive this invitation if you and your family have already obtained your attestation. You have a maximum of 60 days after submitting your application to obtain your attestation of learning about democratic values and Quebec values. This hyperlink will open in a new window, without which your application will be rejected. Send the requested documents by mail to the following address: Direction de l'enregistrement et de l'évaluation comparative, Ministère de l'Immigration, de la Francisation et de l'Intégration, 285, Rue Notre-Dame-Ouest, 4E8H, Montreal, Quebec, H2Y1T8 Canada. Processing of your application will only start when your documents are received. Due to COVID-19, you have 120 days to provide your documents. Please note, you still only have 60 days to obtain your attestation of learning about democratic values and Quebec values. Your documents must be filled out correctly, written entirely in French or English, or accompanied by a translation in French by a recognized translator. This hyperlink will open in a new window, duly signed, provided in the required formats. This hyperlink will open in a new window, submitted within the set time frame. If the documents in your application are incomplete, or are not provided in the required format, you will receive a letter stating that you have 120 days to send them in. After this deadline, your application will be denied. Paying your application fees below are the processing fees for a permanent selection application. As of January 1st, 2022, these fees are adjusted each year on the January 1st. Principal applicant, $844. Spouse or common law partner, $181. Each dependent child, $181. You have a maximum of 30 days after submitting your application to pay the processing fees for your application. Otherwise, your application will not be processed. Fees must be paid in full, in Canadian dollars, by you or by a third party. These fees are non-refundable, even if your application is denied or rejected. Means of payment: if your application for permanent selection in the RSWP is submitted online, you can pay by credit card when you submit your application, or choose the option to pay by paper. If you choose the pay by paper option, you can pay in one of the following ways: certified or validated check from a Canadian bank, check issued by a currency exchange broker, check issued by a Canadian company, Canada Post money order, bank draft from a Canadian bank. You must enclose the personal identification form with your payment and send to the following address: Direction de l'enregistrement et de l'évaluation comparative, Ministère de l'Immigration, de la Francisation et de l'Intégration, 285, Rue Notre-Dame-Ouest, 4E8H, Montreal, Quebec, H2Y1T8 Canada. For permanent selection applications submitted before December 31st, 2018, you can fill out the credit card payment form if you are requesting a common law partner or dependent child to be added to your immigration file. Checks and bank drafts must be made payable to the Minister of Finance of Quebec, be mailed to the Ministère de l'Immigration, de la Francisation et de l'Intégration, have the name of the applicant in block letters on the back. Processing times: if your application is complete, it will be processed within 6 months. This time frame begins when the Ministère de l'Immigration, de la Francisation et de l'Intégration receives your permanent selection application, your supporting documents, payment of the processing fees for your application. This time frame may be longer if you have to attend an interview. Decisions after reviewing your application. There are 3 possible outcomes. 1. You are selected. If you meet all of the program requirements and an interview is not required, you will receive your Certificate de Sélection du Québec, CSQ, Quebec Selection Certificate, and those of accompanying family members. Information on the next steps in your immigration process. 2. Your application is refused. You will receive a letter advising you that your application for permanent selection will be refused if you have not fulfilled all the conditions of the program, you have not submitted all the documents requested in the proper format and in the given deadline. To be selected, you must present documents or justifications that could improve your application and allow you to meet all the conditions of the program. Following your response within the deadline, the review of your application will continue. You will then receive a decision of acceptance or refusal. If you do not respond within the given deadline, your application will be refused. You have the option of submitting an application for administrative review. 3. Your request is rejected. You will receive a letter advising you that your application for permanent selection will be rejected if the Minister de l'Immigration, de la Francisation et de l'Intégration has reason to doubt the authenticity of some of your declarations or the documents you have provided. You have provided false or misleading information or documents. You have not sent convincing evidence within the given deadline to dispel the grounds for rejection submitted. You did not show up for your interview at the given date. You must present convincing evidence to dispel the grounds for rejection communicated to you in the letter. Following your response within the requested deadline, the review of your application will continue. You might also be called for an interview. You will then receive a decision of acceptance or rejection. If you do not respond within the given deadline, your application will be rejected. You have the option of submitting an application for administrative review. Adding or removing family members. After submitting your application, you can add or remove a family member in your permanent selection application. These family members may be a spouse, a common law partner, 1 or more dependent children. You can submit this request in your online file. You will need to fill out a new permanent selection application and submit it on Mon Projet Quebec. You must fill out the form, sign the form, attach your documents in the required formats, pay the processing fees for your application. If you do not have an online file, you must send the permanent selection application form and the necessary documents by mail to the following address: Direction de l'enregistrement et de l'évaluation comparative, Minister de l'Immigration, de la Francisation et de l'Intégration, 285, Rue Notre-Dame-Ouest, 4E8H, Montreal, Quebec H2Y1T8, Canada. If you add a family member, you must pay the extra application fees. If you remove a family member, the application fees that you have already paid are non-refundable. Anyone added to your application who is 18 or older will have 60 days to obtain their attestation of learning about democratic values and Quebec values. This hyperlink will open in a new window, unless they have a valid student or work permit and have already attended an objective integration session, are exempted by the regulation. Submitting an application for permanent selection using a representative. It is not necessary to use the services of a person you pay to undertake your immigration procedures. No priority or special treatment will be granted to you if you use the services of an immigration professional. If you still decide to use the services of a paid person to represent you, see the page retaining the paid services of an individual. You and your representative must both have an account in the Arima platform. Your representative can then present your application.